Wuthering Heights by Emily Braun is a classic novel that depicts the misadventures of two families, the Lindens and the Earnshaws. Both these families express their feelings towards one another in very complicated ways. In order to understand what happens in the novel, you must analyze their actions first. A main motif that occurs among the characters is their true love and fake love towards one another. While analyzing their actions, keep this question in mind. What actions performed by a character defines their love or fake love towards another?
First, we'll start off with the examples of true love. There's the obvious pair, Catherine and Heathcliff, but there are a couple of others that you would already expect after thoroughly thinking about it. The other two pairs are Hindley and Francis, and technically Edgar and his affection towards Catherine. While Catherine's love for him wasn't true, Edgar's was for her.
Let's get the easiest couple out of the way first, especially since they have the most examples. Catherine and Heathcliff were always intended to be the main couple of the whole story, and their actions definitely prove it. To start off, when Catherine sees that Isabella is taking a liking to Heathcliff, she immediately threatens her to not fall in love with him, claiming that Heathcliff won't pay attention to her and will eventually forget about her. Later on in the story, after Catherine marries Edgar, she directly says that she truly loves Heathcliff rather than Edgar. With her marriage to Edgar, she plans to use the money and power to try to help out Heathcliff.
And finally, after Heathcliff runs away, she actually suffers. And when he comes back 3 years later, she's uncontrollably happy, which makes Edgar jealous. At the other end of the relationship, Heathcliff also outwardly shows his love for Catherine. When they first meet and Heathcliff sees that Catherine likes Edgar, he throws hot applesauce on him out of jealousy. How saucy! Speaking of being hard as a result of love, Heathcliff also repeatedly hit his head on a tree until it bled because he was separated from Catherine. Because that would totally help him solve his problems. Apart from that, another one of his crazy actions before his death involved seeing Catherine everywhere he looked, and he said, "I cannot look down to this floor, but her features are shaped on the flags. In every cloud, in every tree, filling the air at night, and caught by glimpses in every object, by day I am surrounded with her image. The most ordinary faces of men and women, my own features mock me with a resemblance. The entire world is a dreadful collection of memoranda that she did exist, and that I have lost her." And as his final act of love for Catherine, he insisted that he would be buried next to her instead of his own wife Isabella.
Hindley and Francis, on the other hand, had quite a harsh ending to the relationship. Coping with the end of it didn't work so well for Hindley. After Francis died while giving birth to Hareton, overcome by grief, Hindley immediately blames his own son for his mother's death.
Afterwards, within a mix of anger and depression, Hindley succumbs into alcoholism and does horrible things like scaring away most of the servants and coming home drunk and dropping his own son off a balcony. Parenting, am I right? You know, when you come home and rage more than ever, with all of your negative emotions built up inside you over the years, threatening to kill one of your last servants and nearly killing your only child is just part of that vicious circle we know and love. More specifically, he held the knife in his hand. It pushed its point between my teeth. But, for my part, I was never much afraid of his vagaries. I went forward also for the purpose of signing to Heathcliff, whose step I recognized not to come further, and, at the instant when my eye quitted Hareton, he gave a sudden spring, delivered himself from the careless grasp that held him, and fell. There was scarcely time to experience a thrill of horror before we saw that the little wretch was safe. Heathcliff arrived underneath just at the critical moment. By a natural impulse, he rested his descent in settling him on his feet.
To look on the true love part of the discussion, there's Edgar and his feelings towards Catherine, which he may not have done much. His word is true in the novel.
All he really did was take care of Catherine while she was sick, and refused to leave her while she tried to convince him how troubled she was. She said, "The soft thing looked askance through the window. He possessed the power to depart, as much as a cat possesses the power of leaving a mouse half killed or a bird half eaten." Ah, I thought, there will be no saving him. He's doomed, and flies to his fate. And so it was. He turned abruptly, hastened into the house again, shut the door behind him, and when I went in a while after to inform him that Earnshaw had come home rabid drunk, ready to pull the old place about our ears, his ordinary frame of mind in that condition, I saw the squirrel had merely effected a closer intimacy, had broken the outworks of youthful timidity, and enabled them to forsake the disguise of friendship and confess themselves lovers.
Now to fake love with the most sham woman alive, Catherine. Catherine's love for Edgar can be described as a gold digger relationship. She did it for the money. As stated before, Catherine wants Edgar's money, mostly to help out Heathcliff, but she also wants something else from him. No, not his pickle.
She married Edgar for his status, to become one of the finest women in Yorkshire. Anything other than money and status, Catherine didn't care about in her marriage. She shows virtually no love to Edgar and even forces him to face Heathcliff in hand-to-hand combat.
Also, when Heathcliff appears at Thrushcross Grange, Catherine shows an extreme amount of emotion. Ere long, I heard the click of a latch, and Catherine flew upstairs, breathless and wild. Too excited to show gladness. Indeed, by her face, you would have rather have surmised an awful calamity. This emotion should be shown to your husband, Catherine, not a gypsy. From one failed marriage to another, Heathcliff's relation with Isabella isn't any better. Where do we start? Well, We can start with the fact that Heathcliff insults the late Isabella as he is talking to their son, calling her a wicked slut, because that is what a loving father does. He also doesn't go after Isabella when she runs away, pregnant with their son, and the reason she runs away is pretty obvious.
Heathcliff even hangs. Yes, hangs Isabella's puppy. Cruel. Just cruel. Other than puppy hanging, Heathcliff also enjoys fantasizing about hurting his wife. "And I like her too ill to attempt it," said he, "except in a very ghoulish fashion. You'd hear of odd things if I lived alone with that mawkish waxen face. The most ordinary would be painting on its white the colors of the rainbow and turning the blue eyes black every day or two. They detestably resemble infants."
Finally, Heathcliff has the nerve to request to be buried next to Catherine when he dies. Funny, maybe I just thought that Heathcliff should be buried next to, I don't know, his wife. Heathcliff doesn't honor this whole marriage thing, you know, till death do you part, in sickness and in health. No? Alright. Finally, the love between a father and a son should be an unbreakable bond. You know, unless your father adopts a gypsy child, which then ruins your bond with him and makes you end up hating the very person that raised you. Hindley originally was loved, as a son should be, by his father, Mr. Earnshaw, but upon his disappearance with Heathcliff, things started to go sour for Hindley. Mr. Earnshaw would give Heathcliff a formal education and would end up loving him more than his own son.
Every argument Hindley would get into Heathcliff, Mr. Earnshaw would always come to defend Heathcliff. Hindley began to despise his father, as explained in this quote. At Mrs. Earnshaw's death, which happened in less than 2 years after, the young master had learned to regard his father as an oppressor rather than a friend. Mr. Earnshaw loved Heathcliff so much that he was thinking of leaving his inheritance to Heathcliff, but was required by law to give it to his biological son, Hindley. The affection that the characters show to each other in Wuthering Heights is a model of real-world situations. Catherine loves Edgar for his money, and Edgar loves her blindly, which is a gold digger relationship. Heathcliff is abusive towards Isabella, which is an abusive relationship. Mr. Earnshaw is a neglectful father towards Hindley, which is very common in the world.
Finally, Heathcliff and Catherine represent a codependent relationship, when one cannot live without the other. After Catherine's death, Heathcliff goes mad and sees her everywhere, which leads to his death. This is also evident with Hindley and Francis. When Francis dies, Hindley is distraught and reverts to alcoholism to take him away from this painful world.
With all of these relationships in the modern world, what would be a relationship worth keeping?